Have you ever taken a moment to contemplate the vastness of creation? The vast oceans, the starry skies, the majestic mountains. Think about it. Next to this grandeur, don't your worries seem like mere fleeting shadows? Today we will explore how to change our outlook on our challenges and turn them toward a God who surpasses them. Life, in its complexity, confronts us with challenges that sometimes seem insurmountable. It is inevitable that every individual, without exception, will encounter difficulties at one time or another. These struggles can take many forms: health problems, financial crises, relationship tensions, or even internal struggles that leave us perplexed. Even those who firmly believe in God are not immune to the storms of life. In fact, faith does not eliminate trials, rather it gives us the tools to face them. Let us imagine for a moment a sailor sailing on a stormy sea. The waves rise and fall, threatening to capsize the ship. This sailor, while aware of the dangers, also knows that he is equipped with the compass and sails needed to navigate through the storm. In the same way, as believers, we have within us an anchor that steadies us, even when the winds of life blow hard. That anchor is the constant presence of God. It is essential to realize that struggles are not signs of weakness or spiritual failure. They are an integral part of our journey. Scripture is filled with stories of people who faced heartbreaking trials. Job, for example, lost his family, his health, and his wealth, but his faith in God never wavered. This story reminds us that challenges can also be opportunities to grow in our faith and deepen our understanding of God's grace. The promise of God's presence is a priceless comfort in these dark times. He never abandons us, even when things seem hopeless. Like a father watching over his child at night, God is there, ready to sustain us. His presence can come in many ways, through friends, comforting words, or even moments of silence in prayer. These moments of connection remind us that we are never alone. So it's crucial to learn to refocus our gaze. Instead of focusing solely on our problems, we need to seek to see God's hand at work in our lives. Sometimes the greatest lessons lie behind trials. By changing our perspective, we can discover unsuspected strengths and resilience we didn't know we possessed. This shift in perspective can transform our struggles into stepping stones to a deeper, more authentic faith. In short, recognizing the reality of problems is the first step toward renewed faith. It is by accepting challenges that we can truly experience God's faithfulness. Storms may rock our boat, but they must never shake our trust in the one who guides us through the waves. In our daily lives, it's easy to get overwhelmed by problems. Our concerns, whether financial, emotional, or relational, can quickly seem as immense as mountains. By contemplating them, we tend to exaggerate them, turning them into insurmountable giants that block our path. But what if we chose to adopt a different perspective? Psalm 121 reminds us that our help comes from the Creator of heaven and earth. This simple but profound truth invites us to look up above our challenges. Imagine for a moment a bird soaring through the sky, surveying the landscape below. To it, the mountains, though imposing, are merely landforms over which it can navigate with ease. In the same way, when we place our trust in God, our struggles seem less overwhelming. Changing perspective is a powerful exercise. Instead of focusing on the size of our problems, we should remember the greatness of God. Who is He after all? The Almighty, the Creator of the universe, the one who knows every star by name. When we realize this, our worries take on a whole new dimension. We must remember that even if our problems seem overwhelming, they are nothing compared to the power of God. By adopting a God-centered view, we discover that our challenges can become opportunities for growth. Every obstacle can be transformed into a valuable lesson. When we face difficulties, we have the opportunity to learn, strengthen our faith, and discover aspects of God we would never have known otherwise. Storms, while daunting, can also be stepping stones to a deeper, more authentic faith. It is also crucial to cultivate a spirit of gratitude. Each day, let's take a moment to reflect on the blessings around us. When we fill our hearts with gratitude, it becomes harder to let our problems get us down. Gratitude acts as a lens through which we can see God's hand at work in our lives. By acknowledging what he has already done, we strengthen our confidence in his ability to sustain us through the trials ahead. Finally, let's remember that changing our perspective often requires conscious effort. It's a choice we make every day. Rather than letting our fears take over, we can choose to meditate on God's promises. His love, faithfulness, and power are truths we can rely on. By taking time to pray, read scripture, and surround ourselves with believers who encourage us, we strengthen our ability to see beyond our problems. In short, the power of perspective is immense. As we turn our gaze to God, we discover that our problems, while real, do not have the final say. They become opportunities to experience the goodness and greatness of our Creator. Faith, often described as a choice, is more than just a belief. It is a transformative force. In a world filled with uncertainty and turbulence, faith becomes that light that shines in the darkness. Imagine yourself in a dark room filled with anxiety and fear. Then, a small flame lights up. This light, though small, has the power to illuminate the entire space. In the same way, faith illuminates our path even in the darkest moments of our lives. When we choose to focus on God, we discover a reservoir of courage. Every challenge we face can become an opportunity to deepen our relationship with Him. This process is not always easy, but it is essential. Faith does not promise us the absence of storms, but it assures us that even in the midst of raging waves, we are never alone. In Him, we find comfort and peace. Consider for a moment the image of a sailor at sea. The waves may be huge, threatening, but the sailor does not give up. Why? Because he knows he has the proper equipment to sail. In the same way, our faith is the spiritual equipment that helps us weather the storms. Every prayer, every reading of Scripture, every act of faith we perform strengthens our ability to face life's challenges. Faith is also about perspective. It allows us to see beyond immediate challenges to God's promises. Even when the winds blow and the waves threaten to swallow us, we know that God is our refuge. He is not distant or indifferent to our struggles. Rather, He is our support, ready to soothe and guide us. This connection with God can be especially powerful in times of crisis. Instead of giving in to worry, we can choose to place our worries in His hands. This doesn't mean we ignore our problems, but rather we recognize that through His grace, we have the strength to overcome them. Each time we make this choice, our faith grows and strengthens. Also, it is important to realize that faith is a journey, not a destination. It is built day by day as we have experiences, positive or negative. In times of joy, our faith moves us to express gratitude. In times of pain, it teaches us to hold on to hope. Each challenge then becomes a cornerstone on which we build our trust in God. Remember that even the greatest heroes of faith have faced times of uncertainty. Abraham, Moses, and many others faced obstacles that seemed insurmountable. Their journey reminds us that faith is often a daily choice, a commitment to trust that God is faithful no matter the circumstances. As we rely on this truth, we discover a peace that surpasses all understanding and strength to move forward, even when the road is difficult. So, embracing the importance of faith is choosing to walk in the light, trusting God, and knowing that He is always there, ready to guide us through the storms of life. Every challenge is an opportunity to deepen our relationship with Him, and every step of faith brings us closer to our Creator. Let's take a moment to delve into the inspiring stories of some of the Bible's iconic figures. These stories, rich with lessons, remind us that God is able to act even in the most desperate situations. Let's start with Sarah, whose life beautifully illustrates the power of God's promise. In her old age, when science and logic seemed to deny the possibility of motherhood, God promised Sarah that she would give birth to a son. Despite doubts and incredulous laughter, Sarah chose to believe that promise. And in an act of divine grace, she conceived Isaac. Her story teaches us that faith can overcome human limitations. No matter what obstacles we face, God's promise can make the impossible possible. Now let's look at David, a simple shepherd chosen to become king. At first, his life seemed insignificant, peaceful even, caring for a few sheep. Yet God had a greater plan for him. Faced with the giant Goliath, David did not give in to fear. With a simple slingshot and unwavering faith, he defeated the enemy who terrified entire armies. This victory was not just the triumph of a young man. It was a demonstration that God can use even the least of us to accomplish great things. David reminds us that our worth is not determined by our status, but by our faith in God and our willingness to answer his call. Then there is Joseph, whose journey is a powerful example of resilience and faithfulness. Betrayed by his brothers and sold into slavery, Joseph endured unimaginable trials. Yet, in every situation from prison to servitude, he kept his faith intact. Eventually, through his wisdom and integrity, he became the minister to Egypt, saving thousands of lives during a famine. Joseph's story teaches us that our struggles are not in vain and that even in the darkest of times, God has a plan in motion. His ability to turn apparent failures into resounding victories is a reminder that every trial can be a step toward our destiny. These Bible stories are not just stories, they are living lessons. They show us that God works in impossible circumstances and that no situation is too desperate for him. As we remember these examples, we are inspired to face our own challenges. They encourage us to have bold faith, to believe that, like these characters, we too can see God's hand at work in our lives. So when life seems overwhelming and obstacles seem insurmountable, let us remember Sarah, David, and Joseph. Their unwavering faith and experiences remind us that we are never alone in our struggles. God is always present, ready to transform our situations and fulfill his promises in our lives. Every challenge we face can become an opportunity to witness to his power and goodness. Don't let your worries weigh you down. Instead, turn to the one who has the power to transform your reality. Remember that whenever life seems overwhelming, God is ready to carry you. In prayer, we find refuge and strength. If this video inspired you, don't forget to like and share it. Subscribe to receive more messages of hope. Together, let's encourage each other to keep our eyes fixed on the one who is greater than our problems. God bless you.